Hello and welcome to another exciting round of the 1998 Formula One World Championship. We are here in the heart of Mexico, where it's shaping up to be a wet race. Got some light rain just scattering across the track as we speak now. And it was Häkkinen who edged out his teammate Coulthard this time. The pair of Ferraris right behind them, Irvine ahead of Schumacher. Then it's Hill who outqualifies defending world champion Jacques Villeneuve. Frentzen, Fisichella, Alesi, and Herbert round out the rest of our top 10. Then it's Ralf Schumacher and Magnussen. He got his first points finish in last week's race. Barrichello ahead of Nakano. Then Verstappen, Gecki, Rosset, and Salo. Behind them, two drivers taking penalties this week. It's Wirtz and De La Rosa at the back of the grid. The drivers are just finishing up the formation lap now, and this time it'll be Häkkinen taking that pole position grid slot. It was his teammate who won in Australia, and it's going to be Häkkinen looking for the race win today in Mexico. Either way, McLaren seem to have a fairly competitive package this year. They're making themselves out as the team to beat this season. Enough talking then. 36 laps of racing to go. We've got 5 red lights. And away we go. Häkkinen gets a good reaction. Just a little bit of wheel spin, but not enough to cede position off the line. And just look at that spray being kicked up by the rear wheels of those vehicles. Watch the drivers carefully now as they battle down the main straight. Looks like we've got 4 wide in the mid-pack there. They're going to have to tighten up as we reach this tight complex of corners. And it's Häkkinen who leads confidently in the first few corners. His teammate has a slight look there, but it's not enough. Going to have to settle in for second. And then it's Schumacher going side by side with Irvine. Just picks up a little too much of the curve there, and that's going to compromise his run down this back straight. Irvine getting a good lead. They're still side by side for the moment. Schumacher trying to hold around the outside there, but Irvine is just a little too far ahead. Puts the brakes on ahead of his teammate, and the cars start to file back single file through the tight complex in the middle part of this track. Nothing too fancy yet. Looks like a Williams going side by side with the Sauber there, but he just gets a little bit out of shape. The drivers are all managing surprisingly well on this opening lap. Despite the conditions, these tires seem to be providing plenty of grip. Drivers all just settling down into the middle part, except for these two, Herbert and Hill, going side by side into turn 1. It's Herbert who has the better run and the inside line, putting the brakes on ahead of Hill. Behind them, Alesi and Ralf Schumacher battling as well. The Jordan just picking up a little too much curb there, bouncing into the Sauber. They all tighten up in this first complex corner, and then Hill picks up again a little too much curb that unsettles the car onto this back straight and gives a better run to the Sauber of Herbert there. They're still side by side. We're getting a mirror image of the first lap with Schumacher. There's just not enough room there. Hill's trying to hold on around the outside. Outside becomes inside in this tight twisting complex, but the grip just quite isn't there at this stage. He's off the dry line, and that cedes the position back to Herbert and the Sauber. Hill forced to settle down for just a little bit longer. And then it's Alesi on Hill. Hill is losing positions fast at the start of the race. This isn't going to be the start that he's wanted, as Alesi is just battling for position, trying to find any amount of grip in these changing conditions. Riding on board with the Sauber driver now. He'll be looking to his right-hand side, just judging the position of that Jordan with each passing moment. Squeezes him to that outside line, and indeed, it looks like he's just about going to be able to squeeze that position out. He's forcing Hill onto the wetter part of the track, and it looks like they just make a little bit of contact. Hill's wheels into the side pod of Alesi there. I think they both just about got away with that. Neither car looks incredibly damaged at this point in time. Once more, outside line becomes inside, and it's Alesi taking the position away from Hill, who's down 2 positions from his starting place. Riding on board then with Irvine. You see that Tyrrell ahead is just getting between him and Häkkinen. And Irvine using that to his advantage to dive up the inside, splitting the pack with that slower car in the middle. That promotes him past Häkkinen for what could be the net race lead ultimately. Irvine hunting down on these fresher tires. Häkkinen not so eager to give up the lead just yet, using the slipstream of the Ferrari to help boost himself along. Irvine dives to the inside early, but Häkkinen dives just that little bit extra, and it's Coulthard who's managed to jump the both of them. A 3-way battle for the lead here. Coulthard putting the brakes on early, but it's Häkkinen not yielding, pushing his teammate all the way to the line there. They're giving each other just enough space, but it's Häkkinen with the ultimate pace advantage here. Gets a little bit upset on the exit of that corner. We've seen so many drivers do that this race, and that's going to cede the position back to Coulthard there. Häkkinen trying to hang on, but Coulthard ultimately has the run into the corner and is able to put a stop to Häkkinen's overtake attempt. And then Coulthard getting just a little bit out of shape there. Again, these drivers have pitted for fresh, slick compound tires, but that does not mean the track conditions are quite so grippy. We see Nakano behind here. A lot of cars struggling for grip at this stage of the race, being put under pressure by the Jordan behind, and you can just see some of the slip angle from the vehicles here as they struggle to find traction in these conditions. And taking another look at what we just saw moments ago, it's Irvine once again losing the rear of the car. It's shades of what happened in Australia, just put too much power down. And as you see from the perspective of Villeneuve, he just ran out of room there. Nowhere to go to avoid the vehicle of Irvine. And so we see some patterns emerge this season. Irvine losing control of his car on 2 different occasions, and it's Villeneuve getting demoted back down the pack, out of position. Not the start of the season the defending world champion would have wanted. And here we have Hill on the Minardi. The Minardi is a little out of place in this stage of the race. Going to a good pit stop strategy, but I don't know if he's going to have the ultimate car underneath him to defend from the Jordan behind here. They're going side by side, as is the Williams with the Sauber there. And indeed, it looks like Hill just has the better run, able to get past, as does Frentzen. So that's Nakano and Alesi both demoted down at the hands of the faster cars ahead of them. And it's another driver losing it at the same position that we saw Irvine lose it earlier. That was Ralf Schumacher, again just putting too much power down. And you see Damon Hill had to take avoiding action to avoid his teammate there. And this is for the final points paying position. Nakano versus Frentzen into the first compounded corners. It looks like they made contact. You saw the disapproval from Frentzen as he threw his hand in the air. And indeed, he's able just to edge out the Minardi a little bit more, pushing him all the way to the white line there. It's not enough to keep him behind. The Minardi taking back that position there, looking in his mirrors down this main straight. Can he keep the faster Williams behind? He's battling tooth and nail to keep the pack behind him. And that is Frentzen. He's going to be retiring from this race. It looked like a mechanical failure, but that's not it for the racing itself, as the Minardi is under pressure from Eddie Irvine. Still in the race after that collision we witnessed earlier, but much further down than what he would have hoped. And here we are then picking the race leader back up once more. Häkkinen ahead of his teammate Coulthard there. But that's not it for the fighting, as Wirtz and Gecki are battling through the stadium section there. It's Gecki up the inside of the Benetton, taking all the curb he can, almost losing the car there, but he just keeps it under control. Looked for a second like Wirtz was going to have another run at him, but he just got blocked by the Minardi, regaining control of his vehicle. Taking a look at the pit stop strategies then. It's been a 2-stopper for most of the field as they navigate these changing weather conditions. But that's all for the expected pit stops for now. Only 12 laps remain in this race. The drivers gearing up for the dying stages of this Grand Prix. Only one DNF so far as well. That came at the hands of Heinz-Harald Frentzen, who had a mechanical failure after some contact earlier in the race.
So, we have an issue with the car. We're expecting you going slower. You're at the end of the race.
And that's not what Rubens is going to want to hear right now, especially not after a mechanical failure in round 1, now down on power in round 2. And here we have then a teammate rivalry brewing. It's the two Minardis as Gecki promotes himself past his teammate. It's a welcome change of pace for the young German driver, who thus far has found himself outpaced by his more experienced teammate, but not in today's race. And that's dramatic scenes here as Jacques Villeneuve, another engine failure in the final stages of this race, pulling over to the left-hand side of the track. He is out of the Mexico Grand Prix. And ultimately, it all comes down to this. With only a few corners to go, Mika Häkkinen is going to cross that line and win the Mexico City Grand Prix ahead of his teammate David Coulthard. It's Häkkinen's first win of the season, and the second 1-2 finish for the McLaren team.